I don't really talk about this. Not to friends, not to family, and definitely not to her. But it's been eating at me like dry rot behind a perfect wall. My name's Mara. I'm 34, and I used to think I had it all figured out. I work in construction, not the kind you see in glossy architecture magazines, just your regular, hands in the dirt, lugging bricks under the sun kind of building. I've always loved the simplicity of it. You measure, you cut, you build. There's truth in it. No room for pretending. But lately, I've been pretending a lot, especially with her. Her name's Camille. She's 36, works in publishing, always smells like something expensive and citrusy, and the way she carries herself, shoulders back, words chosen like jewels. It used to undo me. In the beginning, being with her felt like standing under a hot shower after a long winter day. Warm, enveloping, honest. She'd call me her badass builder girl and tease me when I came home with sawdust in my hair. We used to laugh into each other's mouths, fall asleep tangled in sweaty sheets, limbs greedy and grateful. But lately, I don't know, it started with the little things. A kiss that landed more on the corner of my mouth than the center. The way her arms would tighten around me at night like habit, not hunger. Her laugh still came easy, but it didn't always reach her eyes. Last week, I came home late, job site overran, I had dirt under my nails and exhaustion in my bones. She was waiting on the couch, in this creamy silk blouse, wine glass in hand, all poise and perfume. I kissed her forehead, and she turned her cheek to me instead. I try not to notice. I flopped down beside her, hoping she'd lean in like she used to. But instead, she shifted slightly, legs tucked under her, creating just enough space between us to feel like a mile. I laid my arm along the back of the couch, fingers grazing her shoulder, but she didn't lean in. Just sipped her wine, eyes on some art house film I didn't understand. It wasn't always like this. There was a time I couldn't keep my hands off her, and she'd meld into me like we were made to fit. Now, even our cuddles feel choreographed, like a scene from a play we've performed too many times. Familiar but flat. Then came the moment. The moment I think everything truly shifted. Camille had been dropping hints for months. Comments about her parents visiting from Connecticut, about how they'd love to meet the woman who keeps stealing her weekends. I kept nodding, smiling, kissing her behind the ear to avoid giving a real answer. But that night, she turned to me, eyes too bright, a little drunk on red wine and hope, and said, "I want you to meet them. For real this time. Like soon." And I froze. It wasn't fear of her parents. I've met plenty of parents. It wasn't commitment. I've lived with Camille for almost 2 years. We share groceries, throw pillows, and a dog named Bishop. But something in me recoiled. Something in me whispered, this isn't what it used to be. This isn't the same warmth. So I looked at her, and I said, quietly, but truthfully, I don't think I'm that person. I'm just a builder. She laughed at first, thought I was being modest. But when I didn't smile back, her expression crumpled into something confused and hurt. And in that silence, between her blinking at me and me staring at my calloused hands, I realized this love, whatever it used to be, had shifted. Somewhere between late-night cuddles and silent dinners, between longing glances and polite pecks, I had started to disappear in the blueprint of her life. That moment, that was it. Not dramatic, not explosive, just quiet, real, like finding a crack in the foundation of a house you built with your own hands, and knowing, no matter how well it looks on the outside, something underneath has already begun to give. Camille didn't speak much after I told her I was just a builder. She laughed again, softly this time, like maybe it was her who misunderstood something. Then she stood up, smoothed her blouse, and said, "I'll take Bishop out." She didn't ask me to come. When the door clicked shut behind her, the apartment felt too quiet, like she took the sound with her. Camille shows love through touch. Always has. When we first met, I thought it was magic. The way her fingers traced my collarbone when she wanted to say something tender, the way her hand would find the small of my back in a crowd, anchoring me. But lately, those same touches feel like reminders. Like she's trying to spark something I can't find anymore. 2 nights after the parent talk, I came home from a double shift on the site. We were rehabbing an old brownstone in Ditmas, bad wiring, warped joists, the kind of job that grinds you down. I was wiped. Camille was already in bed, one lamp still on. She was reading, her hair up, her glasses perched on her nose. Something about that look still stung me sweet. I peeled off my boots, not wanting to wake her, and padded toward the shower. "You okay?" she asked, voice soft. "Just tired." She put the book down and opened the blanket for me. I hesitated. She reached for my wrist, tugged me down. Her mouth brushed mine. Her lips were warm, but I didn't feel pulled in. I felt pulled at. I kissed her back, gently, but it felt like standing in a place I used to know, now filled with strangers. Her hand slid under my shirt, fingers familiar, insistent. But I turned my face away. "Can we just sleep?" I mumbled. Camille flinched. Just a flicker, but I saw it. She turned on her side, back to me, the lamp still on. I stared at the ceiling. Camille comes from a world of words. Her family owns a cottage in Cape Cod, and they send birthday cards with handwritten poetry. I come from a line of people who show love with action. My dad fixed my mom's brakes instead of writing sonnets. My brothers and I rebuilt my aunt's porch after a hurricane. No one says much. You just show up. I thought building Camille a bookshelf from reclaimed cherry would set "I love you." I thought putting the dimmer switch in the hallway, so she didn't stub her toe at night, "Man, I'm thinking of you." But she wanted different words. One morning, I found a note in my lunch bag. "Do you even see me anymore?" Folded small, tucked between my sandwich and an apple. I stared at it for a long time while sitting on the edge of a half-built stairwell, hammer in hand, wondering when exactly I'd stopped saying the things she needed to hear. Or maybe wondering if I ever knew how. The next fight wasn't really a fight. We were supposed to meet her coworker for drinks. I came home covered in drywall dust and 20 minutes late. She was dressed already, soft blue dress, silver earrings I'd bought her last year. She looked beautiful and far away. She held out a button-up for me to wear. I took it, tried to meet her eyes. "You know, I'm not really a meet-the-friends kind of person, right?" Her jaw tightened. "You said that about my sister, too." "I just had a long day." "You always do." I didn't know what to say. She turned back to the mirror, fixed her earring. I reached for her waist, but she stiffened. When I kissed her shoulder, she didn't lean back, just kept adjusting the strap of her dress. That night, in bed, she curled around me like always. Her thigh draped over mine, her fingers trailing up my ribs. But it didn't feel like comfort. It felt like a question, and I didn't know how to answer. I wanted to tell her, "I still love you. I just don't know how to love you right now." I wanted to say, "I'm building something. I just don't know if it's still with you." But instead, I turned out the light, and her touch fell away. We slept back to back, like strangers waiting out a storm. And that was the night I knew we weren't fighting about our parents. We weren't fighting about timing. We were fighting about how we both wanted to be seen, and touched, and held. But in such different ways, we couldn't even recognize each other anymore. And the saddest part? I think we both still believed we were trying. It was Sunday morning, the kind where the city feels slow and soft, and sunlight spills through the blinds like honey. Camille was making coffee in one of my old T-shirts, humming something French and jazzy under her breath. She always did that when she was in a good mood. I watched her from the couch, trying to remember what it felt like to want her without thinking about how to perform wanting. She turned, caught me looking, and smiled. Something about that smile made my stomach twist. Not because I didn't love her, but because I used to respond instantly to that look. Now I just hesitated. She walked over, set the mugs down, and slid onto my lap. "Morning," she said, wrapping her arms around my neck. I kissed her cheek. She angled for my lips. I gave her that too. Her mouth moved with intention, slow, warm, pressing. She smelled like cinnamon and toothpaste. But inside I recoiled. Not from her, for what always came next. Her hands slipped under my shirt, fingertips brushing my sides. I stiffened, just slightly, but enough for her to notice. I felt her pull back just an inch. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded too fast. "Yeah, just tired." She leaned in again, this time her hands traveling lower, her breath warm against my jaw. I tried to stay in it, to let myself melt into her. But the more she touched me, the more I felt this quiet panic rise in my chest. Like I was being handed a script I didn't remember how to read. When her palm slid across my thigh, I gently caught her wrist. Cam. She paused. Her eyes searched mine. What? She said, her voice still soft, but I could hear the edge hiding under it. I'm not in the mood right now. She pulled her hand back and sat up straighter, brushing her hair behind her ear like she was trying to keep her face neutral. Okay. But it wasn't okay. We both knew it. She stood up and walked toward the kitchen. No slammed cabinets, no sharp words, just silence, the kind that stings more than shouting. I watched her back as she rinsed out her mug. The curve of her spine, the way her shoulders rose when she breathed deep. She was beautiful. I did love her. So why did her touch feel like pressure now? Why did I flinch when she slapped my ass playfully last night, then pretend I didn't? Why did her kisses feel like questions I couldn't answer? And why? God, why did I feel guilty for not wanting to be touched the way she needed me to? The worst part is I want it. I want to feel the rush again. The hunger. The breathless pulling of bodies that used to feel like home. But now, her affection feels like a test I keep failing. Every touch loaded. Every kiss a negotiation. She came back from the kitchen with a quiet smile and handed me the coffee. Thanks, I said, taking it. She sat beside me, close enough for our thighs to touch, but didn't reach for me again. I sipped slowly, letting the heat burn my tongue, as if that might drown out the ache building in my chest. And inside my head, the thought came louder than I meant it. Why does everything have to turn into sex? We went out to dinner that night. Camille's idea, not mine. A cozy little place in Park Slope with flickering candles, brick walls, and pressed white napkins folded like origami. She wore a wine-colored wrap dress that made her skin glow, and I could feel every pair of eyes turn as we walked in. She always had that effect. I tried to stay present. I told myself, be here. Just be here. The waitress brought us a bottle of red Camille picked out, and for a while it was fine. We talked about Bishop's new obsession with chewing couch legs, her weird coworker who sends emails at 3 a.m., the couple renovating their kitchen on her favorite HGTV show. I made her laugh, once like really laugh, and for a moment, I felt like maybe I could find my way back to her. Then, halfway through the meal, she looked at me and said, "So? I told my parents I want them to meet you over Labor Day." I froze. She said it so easily, like it was a shared plan, like I hadn't already said I wasn't ready. "You did what?" I asked, too sharp. She tilted her head. "Mara, come on. It's not like I'm asking you to marry me. It's just dinner. That's not what this is about, and you know it." "No," she said, setting down her fork carefully. "I don't know, because every time I bring up something about us, something long-term, you shut down. You push me away. I don't know what you're so afraid of." Her voice was low, but there was heat behind it. The table next to us fell quiet for a second, and I suddenly felt like I was on display. "I told you, Camille," I said, forcing my voice steady. "I'm not that person." "What does that even mean?" she snapped, eyes wet now. "You live with me. We have a dog together. You are that person, Mara. You just won't admit it." I opened my mouth to respond, but I felt the pressure rise, tight, suffocating, like being trapped under wet concrete. And then it happened. I didn't plan it. It just broke out of me. Because I don't know how to keep being what you want. My voice cracked, loud enough for the couple next to us to glance over. Loud enough to shatter whatever spell the restaurant's dim lighting had cast. Camille stared at me. "I never asked you to be anything but you," she said, hurt bleeding through her anger. "No," I said, trembling now, barely holding it together. "You asked me to be the version of me you pictured in your head. The one who wants dinner with your parents. The one who wants sex every time you touch me. The one who doesn't flinch when you kiss me like it's a request, not a question." Camille's face fell. Her jaw clenched like she was trying not to cry. "I didn't realize I made you feel so small," she whispered. I looked away. She reached for her purse and stood. "I'm gonna get a car." She didn't say whether I should come with her. She just walked out. I sat there for a long time, heart pounding, unsure if I'd ruined everything or finally been honest. Probably both. The waitress came by to check on me, and I nodded silently, blinking fast to keep from falling apart in front of strangers. I kept hearing myself, "I don't know how to keep being what you want." It wasn't fair. Not entirely true, either. She never asked me to change careers or become someone I'm not. But when you're already losing yourself, even being seen can feel like a threat. And I did feel seen, just not understood. She thought I didn't want her, but it was never her. It was what being with her turned me into, a version of myself that always had to be on, always performing closeness, always giving more than I had left in me. I felt guilty for yelling, for breaking what could have been a beautiful night, and ashamed for crying in a restaurant, for not being able to love her the way she needed. Most of all, I felt confused, because I loved her. But love, apparently, wasn't the same thing as feeling safe anymore. And all I kept thinking as I paid the check and walked out into the too bright streetlight night was, why does everything have to turn into sex? Days passed, then a week, then two. We didn't break up, not with words at least. But something had cracked, some unspoken thing between us, and now it just hung in the air, thick and quiet. Camille still made coffee every morning, still fed Bishop and folded the laundry with that neat little tuck she always did. But we stopped orbiting each other, stopped reaching. When we talked, it was transactional. Did you walk Bishop? Yeah. He pooped twice. Can you grab oat milk on your way home? Sure. We shared a bed like roommates now. Backs turned, breath measured, bodies careful not to touch. I missed her. I missed us. I'd wake up some mornings and see her curled toward the edge of the bed, arm tucked under her pillow like she used to do when we were happy. I'd watch the curve of her shoulders and think, just reach out, just say something, anything. But I didn't, because I didn't know how to start again without having to explain everything I still couldn't make sense of. One Saturday night, I found her sitting in the dark on the couch, knees pulled to her chest, watching the rain tap the window. She didn't hear me come in. Her phone was on the coffee table, open to a photo of us. One I'd taken on the beach last summer. She was laughing, hair a mess, eyes crinkled. I was in the background, mid-laugh too, sand all over my legs. She looked so alive. We did. I stood there for a second, unsure if I should say anything. Then I saw her swipe the screen off, lean back, and wipe her eyes quickly, like she didn't want even herself to see the tears. And I felt it again, that knot of guilt, longing, and helplessness twisting in my gut. She wasn't the villain in our story. Neither was I. She wanted to be loved the way she understood love. She needed it, words, touch, connection. And I couldn't give it in the way she asked. Or maybe I didn't know how to receive love in the way she offered it. But I saw her pain. Every silent dinner, every gentle gesture left hanging in the air, every night she turned off the light without waiting for me. And I hated myself for letting the distance grow. The next morning, she left early to go to a friend's art show. I stayed behind, sitting on the edge of the bed, holding her pillow like it might tell me what to do. And I stared at the screen. Just 5 words. Can we talk tonight? Please. I hovered over send. My thumb shook, because whatever came next, whether we found a way through or let go, it would hurt. But I couldn't keep walking in this silence, pretending I didn't want more. I hit send. Then I set the phone down on the kitchen table and whispered to no one, please still want to try. Camille came home just after 9. I heard her keys in the door, the low click of her boots on the hardwood, the familiar rustle of her coat being hung up. Every sound suddenly louder in the hush of waiting. She walked into the living room and paused when she saw me sitting there. You texted, she said softly. Yeah. She didn't move closer, just looked at me with that careful stillness, the kind people wear when they're bracing for impact. I didn't know if you'd want to talk, I said. She shrugged, eyes tired. I didn't know if you'd want to listen. We stood in that space between us for a long breath. Then she came forward, slow and cautious, and sat across from me on the edge of the coffee table. Her knees brushed mine, and I felt everything I'd been holding in rise to the surface. I miss you, I whispered. Camille swallowed, her eyes filling, but she didn't look away. I miss us, I added, voice cracking. But I don't know how to be with you in the way you need, without losing parts of myself I don't even fully understand yet. She nodded slowly. I know. That surprised me. The quiet in her voice wasn't angry. It wasn't defeated, either. Just real. You felt unloved? I said. She looked down. I felt invisible. I wanted to touch her then, so badly, but I didn't. I never stopped loving you, I said. I just got lost in the space between wanting you and needing to figure out who I am without folding myself into what you expect. Camille smiled, a sad sort of smile. You're not just a builder, Mara. That's never been what this was about. I felt my throat close. I know, I said, but it was easier to say that than say I didn't know how to show up for you anymore. We sat there, legs still touching, not saying much after that. The weight of months of silence between us finally starting to dissolve. Not through grand gestures, just through honesty. Through stillness. After a while, I leaned forward and rested my forehead against hers. She closed her eyes, and we stayed like that, breathing, grieving, softly holding what was left between us. Later, when she got up to go to bed, she paused at the doorway. I'm going to sleep alone tonight, she said. Not because I don't love you. I just need space to figure out what that love looks like now. I nodded. Okay. She started to walk away, then turned back. Come here. I stood, stepped close, and she wrapped her arms around me in a hug so full and quiet it split something open in my chest. She kissed my forehead, then walked away. I stayed up on the couch for a long time after she'd gone. Bishop curled beside me, the apartment dim and still. It wasn't over, but it wasn't fixed either. We'd stopped pretending. That was something. That night, I fell asleep with the ghost of her kiss still warm on my skin, not knowing if we were building something new or finally learning how to let go with love. You know what no one tells you? That love isn't always about how much you feel for someone. Sometimes it's about how much of yourself you're willing to bring to the table. Honestly. Messily. Without shape-shifting just to keep the peace. I used to think desire was the anchor, that if the heat stayed, the love would stay. But I've learned it's not just about wanting someone. It's about being understood by them and feeling safe enough to want in return. For a long time, I thought I was broken. I thought something in me had snapped the moment his hands felt like expectations instead of tenderness. But now I know I wasn't broken. I was quieted, dimming, shrinking into a version of myself I thought was easier to love. I blamed him. Then I blamed myself. But it was never about blame. It was about mismatch, about timing, about two people speaking different languages with the same mouth. He didn't leave. Not right away. We tried again for a while, slow, deliberate, with new boundaries and fewer assumptions. Some days it felt like healing, others like goodbye in slow motion. Eventually, we let go, not out of anger, but because we'd finally told the truth and it changed things. And I think that's what intimacy really is, the kind of honesty that leaves a mark. He taught me something. That physical touch without emotional safety is like building a house on sand. It might stand for a while. It might even look beautiful, but it won't hold in the storm. And me? I'm still learning how to want, how to ask for what I need without guilt, how to love without disappearing. So if you've ever flinched from a kiss that should have felt good, if you've ever been held and still felt unseen, you're not broken. You're just waiting for the kind of love that touches your soul before your skin. And that kind of love, it's worth waiting for.